Okay, so we've been talking for a little bit here. We're having our happy hour, I guess you could say, and realized I hadn't started the recording, but we're talking about our experiences in with different medical practitioners. And like I said, when we were talking, I have nothing against medical practitioners. I have some that are friends of mine, and we discuss these things. But it's really important that we do our due diligence and not just go by their words. I know they don't often like that. At least some don't. Some are really good. But I was sharing a story about my granddaughter who had ringworm, and the antifungal medication they wanted to put her on has it. One of the side effects is depression. She's 12 years old, along with liver failure. So, and this was on GoodRx. It's not like it's some funky, way out west type of a site. It's a reputable site. And then the other thing is, Beatrice was talking about taking her son to the doctor. Was it a cough? Did your son have a cough when he was a child?
He had a cough. He had a very strong cough. Not droopy, but just a bad cough.
Yeah. And the doctor gave you a syrup for him, and then he got whiny. And
he cried, he whined, he cried. And he was usually a very happy child, but he cried for about 3 days, and then I said, it's got to be the medicine. It's got to be the medicine.
When it's the only thing you really changed. And what did your doctor tell you?
To take it, to continue taking it, to follow orders, because he had recommended it to, and I just said very nicely, thank you very much. And I hung up, never saw the doctor again, never went to that doctor. I found another doctor years later, but no.
Yeah.
Never went back to that doctor, because I thought that doctor had a lack of concern for his patients who really were so tiny, they couldn't explain how they felt.
Yeah. And that's how they express that they're not feeling well.
That's right.
And I was going to share a similar experience when my oldest daughter, who's now 39, was 6 months old. She'd already had at least 2 or 3 upper respiratory infections. And so I had brought her to the pediatrician again, and he said, well, let's try this new antibiotic. And I was like, so tell me about it. Well, I just want to make sure. Do you think 10 years from now they'll find out she's sterile because of this antibiotic? He goes, oh, you're a new mom, aren't you? Don't you worry. And I'm like, oh, you obviously don't know me. And so I never gave that to her. And this was really how I started on this path of more holistic,
Yes.
the lifestyle and foods and everything like that. And honestly, one of the things we found is she has a dairy intolerance. And so every time I could always tell when she was eating too much dairy, because she would get really coughy, croupy type things. So it's just a message to listen to ourselves. And like I said, this is what doctors are taught, so I don't blame them, but we don't have to just blindly follow what they say. We can take what they're saying under consideration and do our own diligence. So, all right, I am now off. So I am going to do here is, I don't know if you got the recipes, but I'm actually starting with dinner, and so I just finished cutting here. I cut my broccoli. I won't be using that for a while, but I want to be ready. I'm trying really hard to be ready, be prepared. So what we're really going to do now is take this. I cut up some potatoes. Now I want to give you some magical information for those who go, I can't possibly eat potatoes because they're of their glycemic index. I'm going to put a link in the chat for people. There in 2015, there is a new form of, and you may know this, potato called Huckleberry Gold. And it's a low glycemic potato. So
I didn't know that existed.
I didn't either, but I was like, my husband loves potatoes. I love potatoes. This link you can actually order this seeds to plant when you're ready next spring, because at least we couldn't plant them now and have them survive. But maybe you could look them up. But yeah, let's see here if I can look at this. I also have this study. And the thing is these are not genetically modified. So that is, they use natural breeding, if you want to call it that, like farmers used to do. So there's an article that talks about that. So I wanted to offer that. Now, my husband loves potatoes. That's why I'm doing this for him. And if you don't want to use potatoes, then don't. Use cauliflower, use a variety of, you can try sweet potatoes, but they tend to have, when they're roasted especially, tend to have a higher sugar content. But just try whatever vegetable combination that you can roast that will work. So what I'm going to do here, I'm experimenting. I'm not using my phone here. I've got this little camera thingy. And so that way you can actually see. So I've got my coconut oil, and it's warmer here. It's not hot like it is other places. So my coconut oil is naturally a little melty. And so I'm taking that and putting it here. If you want to use avocado oil or olive oil or whatever you want to, you can do that as well. Obviously, they have other, what do you want to call it? Acidic content, like olive oil has the oleic acid. And then I'm just going to sprinkle on a little of my sea salt here. And toss this around. And like I say, pretty much every time, you do not have to follow this recipe exactly as is if it's just not going to work for you. This is just what I'm making here. And if you want to do something else that you know is going to be better for your body, then do it. I'm just here to give you ideas on ways to help. And part of this, so if you had that guide that I put together, I don't like to say weight loss. I like to say weight management because some people don't need to lose weight. And I don't know, maybe I'm just too caught up in the whole, everybody wants to lose weight because of how their outward expression looks. And, to me, it's based on health. But your weight could be an indicator of some other health issues. So here, I'm looking at my computer instead of at the camera. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and it's all preheated and everything. Now I will, let's see, what time is it? 2:23. So let's say 35. So at about 3 o'clock my time, I will look at it or pull it out. Fun fact. There we go. I didn't realize somebody had bought bread and stuff like that, and they put it in the oven. So I turned the oven on to heat it up, and I was like, what's that smell? And so I opened it up, and oh, I caught it before anything really was damaged. But that was a fun fact, to make sure you have nothing in your oven before you preheat it. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to tell you about potatoes. So potatoes, because of this time of year, like you were saying, Beatrice, and I bet you, Judy, I don't know, Judy, if you knew your camera or your video was off, but you guys are probably a lot warmer than I am. And so we want to have foods that are maybe a little more cooling. And the potato has what's called a neutral thermal nature. So it's not going to be heating or cooling. And sometimes that's what we need to offset when we eat a lot of cooling foods. It does have that sweet flavor. It's mildly diuretic. Hold on. Real life. It tonifies the spleen and pancreas and the chi energy. Oh, yes, Judy.
I turned the camera off for a reason. I dropped the iPad a while back and the frame is coming loose from the front panel. So if I want the picture to look right, I have to sit and hold it, pinch it together pretty tight, or else I look like that.
Actually, I see the circle around you. Honestly, it looks kind of cool. It's like it's like those old videos or old movies where, you know, they were framing in on somebody. So, okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you for sharing that. It's up to you what you want to do. Let's see, it tonifies the spleen, pancreas, and the chi energy. It harmonizes the stomach, lubricates the intestines, fortifies the yin aspect of the kidneys, contains an abundance of carbohydrates that are already in the form of sugars. Okay, we know that, right? This sweet flavor can favorably influence the spleen pancreas, particularly in those individuals who do not chew other carbohydrates well enough to obtain a satisfying amount of sugars. Potato neutralizes body acids, which helps relieve arthritis and rheumatism, and its rich potassium content is good for those who have used too much salt and high sodium food, including meat. The potato reduces all inflammation. Its juice is applied externally to heal burns and is drunk, so you can juice a potato and drink the juice to lower blood pressure and to treat stomach and duodenal ulcers. For ulcers, the fresh juice is considered to have antibiotic properties. It also helps establish beneficial intestinal flora and is a rich source of vitamin C, enzymes, and minerals. It talks about in the olden days, people would make a poultice of grated raw potatoes to draw out external abscesses, carbuncles, and eczema, and for relieving swelling and soreness of the eyes. And today, this kind of poultice still finds use as a Bolivian folk remedy for headaches. Potato is considered one of the most completely nourishing foods if eaten with its skin. During World War II, two Danish food scientists lived healthfully for 3 years on whole potatoes only. Because potato increases the yin aspect of the body, it improves one's receptive, nurturing, and compassionate nature. Yin also includes the body's structure, and so potatoes can be used to help build and maintain body tissues. In addition to the expansive effect of the nightshades, the potato's yin, earthy nature is frequently craved by those with jet lag and other stresses of the high-tech world. The caution is for green potatoes and sprouts that grow on potatoes. They're toxic. Rudolf Steiner observed that eating too many potatoes can cause laziness. This is a reasonable claim since an excess of potatoes will create an excess of the yin receptive principle in the body. Receptivity taken to the extreme can cause laziness. So there you go. There, adjust this. So the potato is not all bad. All right, so do you have any questions before I move along? Now, when we get the potatoes are ready, I've got I like to batch cook beans and legumes, and so I have a batch of lentils that I'm going to mix with barbecue sauce, and I'll put that on top of the potatoes, and then serve that with my broccoli and whatever else. If you don't want to use lentils, you can use shredded pork, shredded chicken, shredded beef. You can use salmon, whatever it is that you have that yearning for. Like I said, this is just a template. What?
So that's the way to go to traps. The traps still at the house at mom's house. So is it okay when dad moves? Could that come up with me?
No, right now, because it has to be Grandpa Rod. And I don't know where Grandpa is.
Well, no. That's not convenient.
I understand. So I'm doing this right now, so I'll get back with you. All right, so now we know what we're having for dinner tonight. And then I am including pickles because the fermented portion of pickles can help with the digestion, especially with something, whether you use meat or lentils. My first certification was in macrobiotics, and a traditional macrobiotic meal always included something pickled or fermented. So you'd often find umeboshi plums, which are a pickled Japanese plum. And so either the plum itself or a paste. And I would sometimes make a dressing for my salads that included the umeboshi paste. Oh, all right. So what do you think of that idea of what I made? There you go.
I like it. I think it's really well, all the recipes that you make, that you give us, I've tried, and they're all delicious.
Wonderful. Sure.
The potatoes is the only thing that I have to find the Huckleberry Gold potatoes, Lynn. Do they sell them everywhere now?
I have bought them here. They're the ones that have more of a purple skin, and their insides are a little more golden.
I've seen the purple skin potatoes, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I tend to stay away from potatoes because they really raise the blood sugar for me.
Sure.
So I want to try these.
Some of those potatoes alongside, like I said, cauliflower or whatever works for you, like you could roast.
That's right.
And you could just take a little bite and test it. Because their tests have shown that it's low glycemic doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's going to work for your particular body. So
yeah, I know. I haven't eaten them for years and years and years, but I'm going to look for them and try them out.
Yeah.
I'm going to look for them and try them out.
Yeah.
I printed out your recipes right now. I had not printed them out before.
Okay.
The smoothie sounds really good too.
I know, yeah. I know it has bananas. You don't have to use bananas. It also uses, I use the bananas primarily here in this household because of the grandkids
Yes,
and for a little bit more of a sweet taste. You don't have to. But I also use the frozen zucchini and the avocado.
I like that.
So
But you know, Lynn, I had heard, and I don't remember who I heard it from, that if you have bananas, when they're ripe, they're very sweet. They're the highest point in the sugar content. But
the
if you
green.
eat the green bananas, I don't remember what they call
It's
it.
got a resistant starch.
The resistant starch. That's right.
Exactly. And I am the only one in this house who likes green bananas. Always have. I've always preferred them over the more ripe ones. So, yeah,
So see, I've got to try those two things now, and I better write it up.
there you
Resistant
go.
starch,
And
right?
again, just use maybe just a chunk. So what I do is I will peel it and then chop it and just use maybe a small chunk in with the other ones.
That
So
doesn't sound too good to me. If I'm going to try it, I'm going to try a bigger
you're
amount.
good at testing your blood sugar. So
Yeah, oh God, I'm so tired of testing my blood sugar sometimes. But
uh,
but I think it's ingrained in me thanks to Dr. Rita Marie. She sort of, took a hammer and put it in our heads from the very beginning.
do you not
I
qualify for a continuous glucose meter?
I don't want to wear a continuous glucose meter.
Okay.
Because, well, first of all, I heard that they were five minutes behind
I
than
haven't
the
heard
actual
that one.
time.
Okay.
And somehow, no, I might eventually end up with that. The doctor doesn't want to give it to me yet, though, because he says he's very
That's fine.
disappointed. He's very disappointed, my primary care physician, because no matter how many times I tell him I won't try that because I'm pre-diabetic and I won't take steroids because I'm pre-diabetic, he says, but you're not diabetic.
Right.
You're not
And
diabetic. And
and you don't, yeah, there you have to be a diabetic, and I you have to be a diabetic in the United States in order to qualify for it,
for it,
which
that's right.
is sad in some ways because pretty much everybody should be testing their blood sugars. When I work with people who use the finger prick glucose meter, I tell them that maybe just the first couple of weeks as you're testing foods, do you go to the extreme with the, every 20-minute type thing?
Yes.
And then after that, just see how you feel. So like if you eat something, you're like, wow, I feel really tired, or I'm so hungry and I'm craving. That's usually a sign. So test your blood sugar and see what it is. And
Yeah.
then again, I would test it every 15, 20 minutes just to see if it keeps going up or how far it goes down.
Going down. And I've, as far as I'm concerned, I know that if I don't sleep more than 8 hours, my blood sugar goes up. So
Yeah.
last night I have the Kindle, so I tested with that. I slept 6.5 hours and my blood sugar this morning was 94.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a very good day of eating yesterday, so it was not to be that high. But I know it is because I have not slept well, or I have not slept enough.
Right.
Yeah. So
and speaking of blood sugar, especially in terms of how we manage our weight and fat and things like that, in that guide, I talk about how, especially with stress, which is what happens when you don't get enough sleep,
that's right.
your cortisol raises up, and then your blood sugar is going to go up, and then that actually ends up creating more fat cells, and it's kind of a vicious cycle because that's then where all the sugar and all of that goes. The cortisol tends to eat the muscle tissue in your thighs and then deposit it in your belly.
I didn't
So,
know that. I didn't know
yeah.
that.
yeah. And so that's something to, it's, they work together, and that's why I say I don't like to fight fat. That's kind of like when they say you have an autoimmune disease, it's your body fighting itself. And I don't necessarily believe that, but that's why I say you manage your weight and you regulate your fat, and knowing the types of fats is also really important.
Yes.
It's the, the adipose tissue, the brown tissue, white tissue, beige, knowing which one's doing what. I think last year I did a more comprehensive guidebook on fat. So if you don't have that, let me know and I'll
Thank you.
send it out to you.
I think I did. You may be right, because the 2 times that my body has fluffed up, and it really has fluffed up, okay, was when I had panhypopituitarism and I was taking cortisone, and I was taking high dosages of it. And a friend called me from Miami and said, the doctor you're always talking about, this was before I met just before I met Dr. Rita Marie, is Dr. Gabriel Cousins. And he
Oh
wrote,
yeah,
okay. So he said he's going to be here for 2 days and give a talk on food. Actually, it was nutrition and spirituality. And he said he doesn't charge, I mean, he charged $50 for both days of being
Wow.
there. I arrived early, and he arrived at the same time. So he was able to meet my husband, who was dropping me off, and me. And he looked at me and he said, are you still taking the cortisone? And I said, how could you tell? And he says, by looking at your body.
Yeah.
Now, I want to tell you, I had never met the man before in my life, okay?
Right.
And he told me, and I said, well, I'm hoping I'm getting it stopped very soon. And he said, probably you will get it very soon, because I'm not sure you need it, but I'm not your doctor. He said, and it'll take about 5 years for the body to get back in shape. And I said, 5 years? And he said, yes, trying really hard. So when I left that weekend is when, now I had studied with Ann Wigmore. I had
Oh, yeah.
been with Ann Wigmore for 2 weeks, but that had been years before. And I really said to the universe, I need some help, please. And about 2 weeks later, I heard someone say, we have a talk with Dr. Rita Marie. And I heard that talk and I said, oh, this female knows what she's talking about. And I ended up studying with her, and she ended up helping me. So all that helped me. But after the heart attack, they gave me not cortisone, but I had to take a, what is it, steroids? Statin. I had to take a statin because they wanted my cholesterol down. When I saw that it was at 90, my cholesterol, I said, that's too low.
Your triglycerides.
So I said,
Yeah.
I fought the doctor for months. Finally, she said, okay, I want you to take it at 5 milligrams, the tiny little things that, but the time that I took it, it fluffed my body up
Yeah.
again. And
Yeah.
I was fuming because I said, I worked so hard to get
Yeah.
muscles. Now I understand why
Yeah.
you said it, because of course the blood sugar went up at the same time.
Yeah.
And I had an argument at the with the doctor at the hospital when I was leaving. And this was not my cardiologist, another doctor, who said, you have to take this. And I said, no, it'll make the blood sugar go up. And he said, I don't know what book you've been reading, but throw it away because it's wrong. And I said, the book may be wrong, but I know what I'm telling you because I know my body. Oh, he screamed and shouted at me.
Yeah.
But my primary care physician said, you don't have to take it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
I didn't give it to you. He said the dosage of 5 milligrams is ridiculous. But so my cholesterol went up to 100, and it's been around 100 and 120 since then.
Your cholesterol?
Yeah. I still think it's a little bit low.
Yeah, just a little bit. You need cholesterol.
I know it. That's what I
for
get.
your brain, your hormones. So
That's what I know that. That's what I kept
you're in
telling
my
the
Sage
doctors.
Wisdom Facebook group, right?
Pardon me?
You're in my Sage Wisdom Facebook group, right?
Yes, I think so.
So a couple of weeks ago, I did a series of posts on cholesterol. And so I don't think people completely understand what cholesterol does. Cholesterol is when our veins, especially with our heart, something happens to them, and this is the connection too with the insulin and insulin resistance, which is why they call it metabolic syndrome. It like scratches your veins, right? It
Yes.
creates like cuts. And so cholesterol goes, oh, we gotta go do that. So they all march up there and they start patching it up. The problem is when there's too much. But what that's showing is that cholesterol is trying to show you is you've got inflammation. So just by addressing cholesterol doesn't necessarily
Really
address the root cause.
Inflammation.
And it could just be stress. So my total cholesterol actually went up to 244. And it had not been that before, but this is after my mother and the kids and all of this. And I'm like, I know what it is.
Yeah.
And so it's, I guess what bothers me is this sense of fear and panic and anxiety that your numbers are, oh, your whatever is. And it's like, okay, so we're aware now, this is what my numbers are. And we know this is what's going on. So let's continue to be curious. And we take a breath. And we trust that God in his universe has us in his hand and he's not going to give us anything more than we can handle. So
And you're right about the inflammation, because I think that what I have is inflammation. But the funny thing, Lynn, is, and I think I already said this before, when I had the heart attack, they didn't understand why.
yeah,
The surgeon told me for an hour and a half, I've been looking through your body and trying to find the clots that I'm supposed to find for the stents that I'm supposed to put in there. He said that I never found.
right.
Look, you have stents. And he said, I already told your doctor about it. I don't know why you're here. Well, my primary care physician told me afterwards, he said, I think you got the heart attack because of the COVID vaccine. And I said, why? And he said, well, you got a heart attack 30 days after you had it. So I think that's why.
I'm saying nothing.
You say nothing.
Say nothing.
I'm the one who didn't want the shots, and I took them because my sons were going crazy.
Yes, I remember we had that discussion.
But I have been reading, doctors from England are studying heart problems and the COVID shots.
You've been reading which one?
No, doctors from England are studying the result of or the link, I should say, between heart problems during the COVID pandemic, which went up in England, and the COVID shots. We
Okay.
don't hear about those here very much. I have a friend who lives in England who sends it to me.
And I may have mentioned my oldest daughter is expecting end of August, beginning of September. I think it's going to be in August. There's another thing. She calls me up after she goes, oh, they drive me nuts because she's 39. She's considered geriatric and high risk. And she's like, I know. She's like, I know Lucas was 30. You were 39 when Lucas was born and 42 when Chloe was born. Did you ever get this? I said, no, because I used a midwife. Never had anything to do with that. And anyway, but she's like, okay, would you just stop with this? I understand you need to know this and you need to do whatever. Just don't tell me because it gets me anxious.
Yes.
And just tell me that everything looks good. They went, well, yeah, everything looks good. Then why are you doing this to me? Anyway, I raised her right. But there was a reason I brought this up. Oh, so my other my son and daughter-in-law are expecting the end of December, beginning of January. And their other daughter is going to be 2 in about a week or so, and I was not able to be there. And just so you know, I'm cutting tomatoes for the salad I'm making.
What does that smell?
All right, so I'm making this panzanella salad, and this is something that what I do is I often will put all the wet ingredients, especially like the tomatoes, separate. I'll have them in a separate bowl and then add them. If I'm prepping ahead of time, I'll
Yeah,
put the tomatoes and everything like that separate. And then add the dressing of whatever. And this dressing is just an oil vinegar dressing before I'm going to eat it. Or if I want it to be a little more marinated. I know in the last month's class, I made one of those mason jar salads. And so you put the salad dressing on the bottom and you pack all the other ingredients, and then all you have to do is shake it.
Yeah.
But that's something I do if I'm, if I'm not gonna, like if I'm going to lunch or, like a picnic or something. Anyway, and I will be eating this later, so I am gonna be putting it. So I'm just doing like large chunks. Are your tomatoes starting to come up in
I
your
don't-
garden? Did you plant
I don't
tomatoes?
have tomatoes this year.
Plant tomatoes? Fresh tomatoes are
How can
lovely.
anyone have tomatoes or anything growing with the heat and the rain that we're
Well,
getting in different
we've got
times?
the rain. We had rain and hail the other day. I was talking to my kids, and I don't know if you ever saw the movie Twister. I
No,
said I was in my car, and it's about tornadoes. And all of a sudden, all the wind came up, and it's just a deluge of rain and then hail. And I said, okay, now I'm looking for the cows, because that's what happened in that movie. It's like, cow. Then all of a sudden, this other cow, another cow. Nope, that's the same cow. Anyway, kind of a joke around here. Anyway, so talking with my son and his wife, I said, oh, good, this time I can be there shortly after she's born. Her mom went out there. I was with my mom because she had just gotten her diagnosis of cancer. And you talk about having a doctor scream and yell at you. But
really.
he wanted to start her right away on the chemo, and I said, don't you dare. Her body's so exhausted. I looked at her labs. I said she would die from the stress on her body. And she listened to me. Love you, Mom, even though she passed away. But anyway, so I wasn't able to be there. I said, oh, good, now I get to be there. So she goes, well, my mom comes for a month. And I said, well, that's not fair to me, because there's all that bonding. And she goes, well, that's just what she does with all the girls. And I'm like, I always go in to see my kids for a week or two after their babies are born. She goes, okay, the real deal is, we want you vaccinated with like whatever is in a booster. I think it's Tdap and I don't know what else. And I went, we've never talked about them because I figured they're vaccinating, and if they wanted to talk to me about it, they would. And it raised a ruckus. I like I said, never talked to them. She said, well, we don't do all the vaccinations and we don't do it on their schedule, but we still do it. But I feel that their immune system isn't strong enough to handle people coming to see them who aren't vaccinated. And so it's sadly a divisive subject.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think people need to be able to make a choice, but it's just, it saddens me. But I told her, I said, well, I understand that's your choice. And it makes me sad that I won't be able to see this child either until for a while. Because I don't want to do something I know would compromise my health. And
You were right about that.
oh
But
yeah,
you know, my sons were not concerned that I would give the kids something. They were concerned that the kids would give us something,
oh,
because they would see some of their friends. So they realized that being cooped up for them was not very good.
right.
So they were seeing some of her friends. The mother was a nurse. The kids were okay. And he said, I don't know what they might bring. They're young enough to take it, but I don't want them to harm you at all.
Right.
And they bugged and bugged and bugged until I said, I want to see them, so I'll take the vaccine. Yeah, they were
Well,
concerned that they would give me something. Which is
yeah,
very funny, because when they got the flu or some things like that, they got very sick and I never did. And I never
right,
had the flu shot.
right,
Well,
right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, it just makes me sad that this is what it comes down to. Hold on one second.
And it is what it's come down to.
Right. It's almost like that is a side effect. You know, we talk about side effects of vaccines or drugs or whatever, but this is a side effect, is the polarity it creates. I'm happy to talk to people and find out their perspective if they'll talk to me as well, to hear what I have to say, not because I'm trying to change their mind, but just so they understand my perspective. But anyway, and that's why we're here in this show, to know how to eat. Like tomatoes, some people may not be able to eat tomatoes because, again, they're a nightshade. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, so tomatoes, we were talking about thermal nature. Tomatoes are cooling thermal nature. They have a sweet and sour flavor. They build the yin fluids and relieves dryness and thirst. They tonify the stomach and cleans the liver, purifies the blood, and detoxifies the body in general. Tomatoes encourage digestion, and so they're used in cases of diminished appetite, indigestion, food retention, anorexia, and constipation. Tomatoes relieve liver heat and accompanying symptoms such as high blood pressure, red eyes, and headaches. To treat areas of stagnant blood in the body, tomatoes can be used as a food and as an external pack of the raw, finely sliced fruit on the stagnant site. Even though an acidic fruit, after digestion, the tomato alkalizes the blood and so is useful in reducing the acid blood of rheumatism and gout. Vine ripened tomatoes are best. Green picked tomatoes that are later ripened can weaken the kidney adrenal function. The caution here are that tomatoes can upset the calcium metabolism and should be avoided in cases of arthritis. So before I said rheumatism and arthritis are two different conditions. And large amounts of tomatoes are weakening for everyone. So, one or two tomatoes a day can be okay.
You said they lower blood pressure?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
they're bad for arthritis.
They're bad for arthritis because of the calcium metabolism, which has to do that it's a nightshade.
So nightshades are bad for arthritis?
Yep.
I mean, I don't have arthritis, but my husband does.
That's especially the raw tomatoes.
Yes.
When you cook them, it takes some of that chemical away. But the best way to find out, unfortunately, is to experiment,
Yeah.
you know? Like, how does he do if he eats like spaghetti without the pasta?
With a pasta. Well, he's not supposed to eat spaghetti now because of the triglycerides, but
Well,
he
you could do it with like.
Lynn, you know so
spaghetti.
many things. It's wonderful to hear you talk. It really is.
I'm glad.
I always learn something with you, always learn a lot with you.
Well, I'm glad. I try. I want people to want to be here. Okay, so I put tomatoes in my bowl. Where I live, they just don't sell straight arugula because nobody buys straight arugula. So I've got this baby mix. I don't have any arugula growing or that I was ready to pick in my garden. So I will buy this. And the farmers markets are at least a half an hour away from me. So I go there occasionally. Everything is at least half an hour away from me.
Definitely.
So I'm going to put some of this in with my tomatoes. And this is baby arugula. I will admit a lot of people are not huge fans of arugula because it is such a bitter. But the baby arugulas are more tolerable. Okay, cucumber. And then you'll see also in this recipe, it talks about using gluten-free bread to make your croutons. If you don't want to do that, you could, because the idea is to give a little crunch or something. You can also buy or make like the flax bread. I know Dr. Rita Marie has done, I'm assuming she still does those kitchen shows, but she's done several where she's made the flax breads. So you can make those and then in the dehydrator, and you just, sometimes if you do it for a small amount of time, then you it'll be softer for like a wrap, but if you do it longer, it'll get crispier like for a cracker. And so then you can take that crispiness and crumple it in there. I'm going to get my cucumber.
What is she going to tell us about cucumber, Judy, now?
What's that?
I said, what is she going to tell us about cucumber now?
Well, if you want to know. And then
Yes,
I have gluten-free bread, so I am going to put it in the toaster or have it near the toaster when I'm ready to eat it. And I'm going to actually stir my potatoes. I'm actually going to shut that off because they looked pretty good. Now I peel my cucumbers because even though I plant organic or biodynamic, I do not live in an area that follows those same rules. And so like the other day, the airplane was out flying over the crops, which surrounds my house.
Oh.
So again, this is why I feel we say a blessing over our meal. Dear Lord, I did the best I could. Please take it the rest of the way so I don't totally poison my body. So I do peel my cucumbers and things like that. Okay, so cucumbers. not as a surprise, cucumbers are cooling in thermal nature. They also have a sweet flavor. They're diuretic. So, if you need to pee, this is a good food to take. They counteract toxins and lift depression. I mean, who can feel sad eating a cucumber? They cleanse the body. They influence the heart, spleen, pancreas, stomach, and large intestine. They quench thirst, moisten the lungs, purify the skin. And I think you've told me a few times about things, Beatrice, you've done for your skin that include, I know avocados, but also cucumbers.
Cucumbers are very good. They're also, if you slice them and put them on over your eyes, they're supposed to help. I don't remember exactly, but I think that if you have dark shadows under your eyes, but
Yeah,
cucumbers,
the
if you peel them, then liquefy them,
oh,
and just put them in a little bottle and keep it in the refrigerator. You can put it with a cotton on your face.
okay.
And if you put too much and it starts feeling hard, then just take it off with a cotton towel.
Okay,
And it's really very good for your skin. Really very good.
nice. Okay. Good to know. Let's see. Oh, what else does it say? Acts as a digestive aid, especially in the form of pickles, like we were talking about earlier. Helpful during the hot or dry times of the year, which, did you say it's pretty hot there too, Judy?
Yeah, it's about 90-ish.
Okay. Yeah, it's upper 70s here. Sometimes it gets into the 80s. It's the humidity. That's why my hair is like the way it is.
It's upper 90s here. And the humidity is horrible.
Yeah,
We're between
yeah.
two oceans. Okay, so yeah, that'll do it.
that'll do it.
That'll
So
do it.
including cucumbers into your meals might be something really helpful. And something like this salad, and if you have everything chopped up ahead of time, then it's real easy to just put everything together. It treats the effect of summer heat. Like you said, apply the juice from cucumbers to relieve all burns, especially sunburn. Drink the juice to help treat kidney and bladder infections. Consuming whole cucumber or its juice cools most other inflammatory or heat conditions, including stomach inflammation, conjunctivitis, sore throat, acne, inflamed skin diseases, and discharges. Its cooling property is active even when cooked. In East Asia, cucumbers are often added to soups. A pack of grated cucumber placed on the face beautifies the skin. If placed over the eyes, it relieves hot, inflamed, swollen, dry, or irritated eyes. Cucumber contains erupsis, a digestive enzyme that breaks down protein and cleanses the intestines. This property also enables cucumber to destroy worms, especially tapeworms. Cucumber is not recommended for those with watery mucus or diarrhea. Now, cucumber skin is rich in silicon, chlorophyll, and is bitter. Eating cucumber with skin enhances its medicinal virtue. A tea of the skin alone is used for swelling in the hands and feet. So, the lowly cucumber, who'd have thought that it does all of that? So everybody's going to run out and get cucumbers.
Get cucumbers. Cucumbers also lowers blood sugar.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Yep.
It helps to lower blood sugar.
Yep, that makes sense. It's interesting to me. I've been seeing more and more people when I run their labs. The first thing that shows up that needs to be addressed is blood sugar. And we discussed that the blood sugar isn't, it's a symptom, right? I call it the canary in a coal mine. And it just is something to look at. All right, so next is a red onion. Red onions were actually really the original onion. The other onions were developed to be cooked. Red onion is best when just, in a salad or eaten raw. Pickled is okay. We had 2 baby showers last weekend for my daughter, and we had gone out to eat, and we went to this, she got a burger, and it had these pickled onions, and she's like taking them off, and I'm like, oh, I'll take those. Thank you very much.
My favorite things.
I
Pickled
know.
onions.
They were for me. I don't know if you're joking or if you're serious, but
No, I'm serious.
yeah.
In Mexico, in the Maya region of Mexico, in Yucatan, we take a cup of sliced red onion in the morning and we cover it with lime juice.
Ooh.
By the time dinner comes around, it's delicious.
Mm. Mm.
And you put it just about on everything.
Wow.
Yeah, you eat it with everything.
Yum.
Yeah, it is very good. Doesn't last very long in this house because I keep testing it all day long to see if it's okay. Maybe it's ready, okay? Yeah.
Right now. I'm just chopping up about a quarter of that onion to put on the salad. Onions lower blood pressure and cholesterol. It decreases catarrh, which is phlegm and inflammation of the nose and throat. Treats dysentery, inhibits allergic reactions, induces sweating, and is a cure for the common cold. A traditional cough remedy consists of onions simmered in water until soft with a little honey added, or monk fruit or whatever else. One onion is, so then you're eating the onion. One onion is eaten every 4 hours. Onion packs on the chest are a remedy for bronchial inflammation and other chest congestions. The juice compresses or raw onion packs are also used externally on insect bites to draw out swelling and pain. Onion tea calms the brain and acts as a general sedative. So the next time you're not able to go to sleep, chop up some onion and brew it up.
Mhm.
There's that. What else? Oh, some basil. I don't know where my basil is. Oh, it's in front of me. Because I am trying to be so prepared. So I'm just taking some basil and chopping it up and putting it in there. Who knows what basil is good for? Do you know what basil is good for?
No,
Let's see here. What's not in there? Hold on. Here. Here it is. So basil is a member of the mint family. Let's see, that's not what I want. Thought I had it in there. Not in that one. So it reduces oxidative stress and supports cardiovascular health. I mean, if you think about it, you know,
Really?
it's in a lot of these Mediterranean dishes. And they always talk about the Mediterranean diet. So that makes sense.
Actually, it does.
Traditional uses include snake bites, colds, and inflammation within nasal passages. It provides macronutrients such as calcium and vitamin K, as well as a range of antioxidants. Sweet basil, like this one has a high concentration of the chemical agent eugenol. This gives it a clove-like scent. Lime and lemon basils have high concentrations of limonene, which gives it a citrusy scent. And they both have antioxidant properties, which is what you need to eliminate your free radicals, which is part of inflammation and disease. Let's see. It supports liver health. It fights cancer, protects against skin aging. So including basil is something we may want to do. Let's put a little bit more in here. So I just kind of chop it up. It's probably better if you don't use a knife, but because you have that reaction of the metal against the plant. What else? Oh, some white kidney beans, otherwise known as cannellini beans. Have you ever, I'm assuming you guys have used cannellini beans before, yes?
Yeah.
Let's see. Beans. And again, you know, if your body doesn't tolerate these really well, then don't use them. I just try to find different ways to get different types of proteins, because proteins are really important, especially if in managing your weight and fat and everything like that. So these are cooling, they're a cooling thermal nature, sweet flavor, diuretic. You see a kind of a theme here with some of these foods. A lot of them are cooling, diuretic, so they help your body to get rid of any excess water that may be trapped from the heat and humidity. Increasing in fluids, used in treating edema and swelling. It's in the same family of legumes as pinto, green wax, bolita, mung, and Great Northern varieties. And they're very old. I mean, these beans have been around for a while. And then, I have a hard time finding this type of bean in the dry form around here. So I do end up using this one canned. I prefer to do the whole soaking and cooking. It again, it goes with what am I doing? I mean, I know what I'm putting in there. So I always make sure, even though the cans are BPA free, I go through and rinse them. Okay. So just so you can see so far, this is what we've got. We've got the beans, we've got the red onion, we've got cucumber, we've got the variety of lettuces, and then underneath this all are the tomatoes. And this is just what I'm putting in there, because what I have available in my area. Feel free to put whatever else. Oh, and the basil. And then before I actually eat it, I'm gonna put in the olive oil and vinegar, and I'll probably mix in a little garlic powder or something like that. So this is something that now I don't have to worry as much about lunch over the next few days, because we'll probably be busy. And now we'll just go on to what Beatrice was talking about before, which is smoothie. So, let's see, bananas, let's see. Sorry. Did I tell you, did we talk about bananas yet?
A little bit.
Well, we did a little, but I just didn't know if yeah, here we go. So bananas are very, very cooling thermal nature, not just a cooling, but very cooling. I mean, it makes sense again, because it's a tropical plant. Huh?
Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. Sweet flavor lubricates the intestines and lungs, treats constipation and ulcers, strengthens the yin and benefits conditions of thirst and dryness. For dry lung conditions and dry cough, eat bananas that have been sliced and cooked into a thick soup. Before their completely ripe stage, bananas have an astringent property. So that's that resistant starch we were talking about. So use partially ripened steamed bananas for diarrhea, colitis, and hemorrhoids. For hemorrhoids themselves, steam the whole banana until very soft and eat one organic banana with the skin twice a day on an empty stomach. Bananas detoxify the body. In addition, their cold nature and high sugar content are useful in the treatment of drug addiction, especially alcoholism, marked by heat signs and sugar cravings during withdrawal. Rich in potassium, bananas are used universally for hypertension. Because they can reduce blood pressure, are easy to digest, and also moisten dryness, bananas are a good food for many elderly people because of blood pressure, dryness, and digestive weakness, and that tends to increase with age. Bananas are commonly given to children and infants, although they should be used cautiously with children who are cold, inactive, or frail. So, there you go. Don't you know? Where did I put my,
Have you finished everything yet?
have I finished with?
Making anything yet?
Not totally.
How much longer?
Pretty cook. I'm gonna be making the smoothie now. So,
Is it gonna be a good smoothie?
when are my smoothies bad? He said, is it a good smoothie or a bad smoothie? I said, when have I made a bad smoothie?
Every single time.
I do not. So, well, the first thing I'm putting in here is a cup of. See my, no. But you can get me in that cupboard behind you. In the back of the cupboard, yep, back. Let's take everything out. That green and white thing, it's protein powder. The very back. So I'm putting in a cup of almond milk. It's kind of a light green and white. See the very back. Yep. So I bring that over here. So I'm putting in a cup of almond milk. I have in the past made my own almond milk. I don't always have time for that. That's when I am grateful that I don't have to. So you may have heard me say this before. This is the kind I'm currently using. The brand is, see that pretty well. It's Puretide, Puratee. And it has a lot of greens in it. So it actually makes an otherwise white smoothie green. So I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of that in here. This has, see, 10 grams of protein, vitamin A, C, D, E, K, B1, B2, B3, B6, B12, folate, biotin, pantothenic acid, calcium, iron, phosphorus, magnesium, zinc, selenium, copper, manganese, chromium, chloride, sodium, and potassium. It is a pea protein. Citric acid, artichoke leaf powder, stevia extract, and dandelion root. Also organic spirulina, sunflower lecithin, inulin, wheatgrass juice powder, barley grass, chlorella, papaya fruit, beetroot, rose hips, organic broccoli sprouts, organic tomatoes, organic carrots, bilberry fruit, blueberries, organic spinach, organic kale, ginger root, slippery elm, kelp, pineapple juice powder, astragalus root, reishi mushroom, shiitake mushroom, and burdock root. And last but not least, bifidobacterium bifidum, lactobacillus acidophilus. So it kind of covers it. So this is good, especially in the morning. And it actually tastes good. I'm gonna put in an avocado. We only have the small avocados here, so I'm putting in the whole one, even though it says to use a half of one. So what do you usually put in yours? In your smoothies?
I don't consistently make smoothies. Beatrice needs to answer that.
Yeah, well, in my smoothies, I always, the base is this. 1 cucumber peeled, 2 or 3 stalks of celery. I put a whole organic lime with a peel included. I put about 2 inches of ginger, fresh ginger.
Wow.
I add the chia porridge that I was going to eat separately. I added it in that. Then I add the greens. And
Okay.
and if it's for breakfast, I also add 1 scoop of whatever protein powder I'm taking.
Okay.
which
Nice.
makes me not want to eat about 3 days later because it's very filling.
Oh, yeah.
It's very
You can
filling.
freeze them, right?
Yes, you can freeze them. And sometimes I make that and I only have half of it for breakfast, and I freeze the other half for whenever I want to have something quickly. But basically, that's what I do now. I don't usually have those humongous cucumbers. I think it's just a small cucumber,
Yeah,
regular
yeah.
size little cucumber. Celery, I know it's good because it lowers your blood pressure.
Yeah.
So I've
Good
always
for your
had that.
bones.
Pardon me?
Good for your bones.
Well, I didn't know that, but it lowers your blood
Well,
pressure.
yeah.
Ginger,
If you
because it's good for,
doctrine of signatures, because that's what it looks like.
yeah, that's right. Ginger is good for inflammation,
Yeah.
and I like it, and I
Yeah.
like it. Lime is, I put it in there only because I like it. I like it. And then when I found out that the peel had the limonene and that's what helped you lose weight, well, the peel went in there also. So I wasn't going to keep it away.
Fun. Yeah.
And then I add whatever green vegetable I have, whatever
There you
green
go.
vegetable or whatever green, the arugula or lettuce if I'm desperate, or spinach,
There you
whatever,
go.
something like that. Now that I had this IBS, I don't eat that much spinach, but everything else goes in there.
Yeah.
And now it's very thick, but it's thick because of the celery, because celery thickens anything that you blend it with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's-
basically that's it. So my smoothies are very boring. I don't add any fruit to it because I eat such little fruit, small amounts of fruit, because it makes the blood sugar go up, that I might as well eat them and enjoy them than have them get lost in a smoothie.
Right.
Yeah, because I can have like a quarter cup of blueberries. Well, that doesn't flavor the smoothie, but if I enjoy them one by one, then
Yeah.
it's okay.
Right.
So my smoothies are really green. And I remember when I was living in Central Florida and I had my knee surgery, the doctor told me after the third surgery that I had, because it's one knee, then another knee, then my hip broke. So I have a hip also. He
Oh.
told me very directly, he said, you're a very good patient of mine, and I really think you're a wonderful person, but if you don't lose weight, you're going to break the other hip
Oh.
bone. So I need you to please lose weight. Well, when I saw him 6 months later, I had been on the Before Be Gone program, and he asked me all about it. He was fascinated. So I asked Dr. Rita Marie if she would mind my giving him one of her booklets on green smoothies.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, give it to him, to a doctor, no problem. So I gave it to him, and he said, oh, thank you very much, because this morning my wife and I were deciding that we had to eat more greens, but we didn't know what greens or how to eat them. Well, I saw him about 6 months after that, and I saw him walk him, and I said, doctor, you look so good. He really did. He had lost weight, although he didn't need it. And he said, everything you told me was true about the green smoothies. Now, he had no idea what chia seeds were, so I had to explain. He said, I operate every day, so I'm in the hospital by 6:30. Instead of having donuts and coffee, I have my green smoothie and I drink it before I go into surgery. And it holds me up for hours on end. It gives me all the energy in the world that I need. And then I have lunch. He said, and I have not exercised more, but somehow by having a green smoothie for breakfast, I have lost weight.
There you go.
Yeah.
And he probably has more brain function, which I'm sure his
He said he never got tired for all the surgeries he was doing and everything. He really, really loved it. And his assistants told me, you have no idea. He tells all of us about the green smoothies. So, and this was a doctor who had never heard of a green smoothie in his life.
Oh.
And I gave him my recipe. I said, be sure it has the ginger in it and the lime. And he said lemon. And I said, no, lemon doesn't taste like lime. Lime is more acidic. So try the lime. And the celery and the cucumber and the chia seeds. You make the chia porridge the night before,
Yeah.
and that's it. And
And
that's
this is actually back in the day before people really did know about these things.
this
You know?
was, that's right. That's right. About 13 years ago when they knew nothing about it. That's why he said, my wife said we should eat more greens, but I don't know which one and we don't know how.
Yeah.
So I said green smoothies. And in fact, I asked Dr. Rita Marie if she would think okay for me to give it away. And so I went to see him again just to give him the recipe book. And he looked at it. I explained a few things that he was asking about, and he said, let's go for it. And he did.
Let's go for it.
Let's go
Yeah.
for it. And he said it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because usually by mid-morning I would get very tired and I would have more donuts and coffee, because that's why they had in the room where the doctors rest. That's what they had there. Now I don't. I just have my green smoothie and early in the morning, and I go through until lunchtime. So that worked.
And
Dr.
better
Rita Marie
person
was,
for it.
yeah, very happy to hear that.
So what I have in here are my sliced frozen zucchini and the chunked up bananas, and you may have seen me put an orange in there.
Yes.
And it's kind of like an orange Julius type of a thing. And probably more fruit than most people would want, but it's just a way to start. And especially in this heat, having something like this may be beneficial. Maybe only do a slice of orange, or put some orange flavoring in there, like the flower essences.
Yeah, we lost your sound.
Yeah, there. Can you hear me now?
You're good.
Yeah, my phone had rang. So, however, I am going to mute you for a moment while I do this, because it will be loud.
I never put avocado in my smoothies because I like to eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm going to pay the money for avocados,
Yeah.
then I might as well enjoy them whole.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, ginger, I never take a bite out of or anything like that. That goes in there. But
Yeah.
All right, am I muted?
We hear you now.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So. Here you go.
It's a pretty color.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very tasty. This is really good on a hot day. I pulled up my orange information, and again, cooling thermal nature, sweet and sour flavor, general tonic for weak digestion and poor appetite, regenerates body fluids, helps cool and moisten those who are dry and overheated from disease processes, physical activity, or hot weather. Oranges have been valuable for inflammatory, highly acidic diseases such as arthritis. They also help lower high fever. Their vitamin C bioflavonoid content benefits those with weak gums and teeth. The peel has chi stimulating, digestive, and mucus resolving properties similar to grapefruit peel. The inner white lining placed directly on the eyelid helps to dissolve eye cysts. So, you know, what comes up for me here is that you can't see. There's a season to everything, and while eating lots of oranges during the cold months may not be best for our body, maybe when it's really hot like this, we occasionally have something like an orange or something that we wouldn't normally eat, and maybe that's what our body needs. I can't tell you that. I'm just postulating that if they have these properties that helpful for such a time as this, try a little bit and see how does your body react to it. Hold the orange in your hand and say, should I eat this? You know, my body just naturally went, yes, baby, we need this. So, but do that muscle testing on yourself to see how that will work. I was just looking at the time. I realize it's getting late. What I'm going to do here is what I may end up doing is just finishing up the lentils and everything, because all I'm going to do is cook the lentils in my pot with some of my barbecue sauce. Now, this is just a Primal Kitchen commercial barbecue sauce. I have made barbecue sauce from time to time, but I also grateful that I don't have to, because sometimes it just gets really stinking busy. And so it's good to have these things that can help us stay the course. And so all I'm doing is heating up some of the lentils and pouring the barbecue sauce over that. And then I'll pour that over the potatoes. And I'm going to take some of my red onion and slice that on top of it, steam some broccoli, and have a pickle. And that will be dinner, because it's too hot to eat really, really heavy and really, really late. Frequently we actually only do 2 meals. I'm a breakfast person, so I usually eat breakfast somewhere between 7 and 9. And then I may not eat again until 2 or 3, and that's my bigger meal of the day. If I do eat something later on, it may be just at this time of year, it might be some watermelon, or a piece of melon, something that's cooling, or some type of a gazpacho or something, just real light, because it's hot and hard enough for my body to digest food late. I don't need to add to it. But if I start out the day like this, then I don't feel the need to be eating the rest of the day. when I was homeschooling my kids using the Waldorf/Steiner method, one of the things I learned, and I've seen it in practice, is that our body rhythms are such that the most productive part of the day is usually like from 10 till 2, 10 till noon, somewhere in that earlier part. And our culture has made it so you have to like push the whole day through. We're supposed to have our big meal and then rest, that siesta. That doesn't mean you have to sleep, but it means maybe you take a gentle walk. Maybe you go outside in nature and read. If our body is meant to rest at that point in time. And quite frankly, the rest of the day is not supposed to be so hardcore. And maybe visiting with friends. If you have a hobby, like I like to knit, that part of the day is supposed to be like that. So, and there's my plug for that. Any other thoughts or questions on anything?
No, these recipes are really good. Yeah, I want to try them all.
Hey. Well, if anything comes up, you let me know.
Thank you, Lynn.
I may post a picture of what everything looks like on my plate for dinner and on the Facebook group. And it will be colorful.
It will.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you have any questions, reach out.
I'm going to reach out to you.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going to make the appointment right now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye,
Have a good
Judy.
day. Bye.
Thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judy. It's good to see you again.
Yeah.